Good morning, 2021. Let's begin a day fully packed with some great enlightening sessions, witnessing industry's top experts with our inaugural address. With us, we have Ms. Tina Singh, Chair, IMI Blockchain Committee, and CDO Mahindra Finance for opening remarks, followed by our inaugural keynote address by our esteemed guest, Mr. CP Gurnani, CEO and Managing Director, Tech Mahindra. Over to you, Tina.
Thank you, Pandit. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure as the chairperson of IMAI Blockchain Committee to welcome you to our first ever IMAI Blockchain Summit. The objective of this summit and our committee is to promote the understanding and usage of blockchain technology by demystifying it. And let me tell you here, while there is a lot of buzz about cryptocurrency, we are focusing on blockchain only. The IMAI Blockchain Summit provides a platform to all stakeholders in the blockchain ecosystem and hopes to act as a catalyst to trigger adoption of this technology across various domains. The summit is focusing on multiple sectors, energy, telecom, supply chain, cybersecurity, etc. We will also be launching a white paper with Ernst & Young showcasing use cases in India. The two tracks around which the summit is structured are blockchain for business and blockchain for greater good. This will focus on how collaboration, transparency, and trust is leading to a more participative economy in India today and worldwide. There's a stellar line of speakers who will also help you understand how this technology is making an impact globally. Most notably, our keynote speaker, Mr. CP Gurnani, CEO and Managing Director of Tech Mahindra, is joining us today now to help us understand this technology better. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you enjoy the sessions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I would request Mr. Gurnani to please give his keynote address now. So you're on mute.
Hi, good morning, everybody, and thank you, Tina, for inviting me to this opening session of the IAMAI Blockchain Summit. Clearly, there are various thoughts going through my mind as I speak right now. 2008 was a financial crisis, and we all saw the advent of the Bitcoin. 2020 was a different kind of a crisis, and has or can blockchain become a rage? Can it hit a stride? Can it solve many of the challenges of the new normal world? When I go through those stray thoughts, somebody did remind me that the foundation of that Bitcoins was the blockchain, and many assumptions that we all took regarding blockchain and developed applications during these 13 years have actually not accelerated as much as the potential is. So the business probably needs to take the lead. I know for some of you who belong to the blockchain world and who are smarter than I was, would have invested 10,000 Bitcoins and bought a pizza in 2008, and today the same pizza would have been worth $53 million. So I know that when an Elon Musk tweets, or people like Richard Branson invest in a blockchain technology, we all sit up and take notice. during this pandemic, I had a chance to go and meet many government officers, and I had to visit them in their offices. And I did ask them, I said, listen, my office is working seamlessly without coming to work. And the reply given by this secretary to the government of India, the most senior ranking officer, was that CP in Tech Mahindra, you addressed very few issues that we need to address. I said, listen, sir, I have 125,000 people. I have business in 90 countries, and I have 1,000 active customers that I need to make sure that they are getting the service and they are able to serve their customers. I do believe it is not as complex as yours, but the basic system is the same, that we also do information processing. We also help our client take decisions, and we do it in a way that both the client, their customers, and all of us are able to engage with each other in a very transparent and in a very secure way. The Secretary to the Government of India said, what would you do differently if you are in my shoes? I said, sir, three industries have clearly shown that they are good adopters to the pandemic. One is digitalization. The second is remote health. And number third is remote education. I mean, these are the three early adopters. And I believe that if you adopt blockchain, you would be able to do all your paperwork, all your filing, all your scrutinies a year later, and you would be able to do it on the building blocks of blockchain. And I tried explaining that the best of the securities and the settlement systems, which used to take many days, now are able to work through a trusted technology. That the Dubai government has made to a large extent citizen services on a blockchain platform. I don't know if I succeeded or not. But my belief is the best of blockchain is yet to come. And the reason it will come is because many of us in business will now start adopting. The naysayers, when they start questioning that blockchain is only for the bitcoins, or only for land record registries, or only for contract management, and not so much for a day-to-day application. And I agree with them, it is not for my day-to-day application. I don't want to buy a soap and say that the basic technology behind buying soap was a blockchain, and I'm not trying to replace it by internet, or internet is not being replaced by blockchain. But I think we all need to take a pause and take into account where blockchain will make sense for business and where it will not make sense for business. And once we do decide, it's the same way that I hope people are not buying coffee, using bitcoins to buy coffee at the Starbucks or a coffee cafe day. I do believe that some of us will have to propagate the usage of blockchain, uh, demonstrate to people that it is not only for bookkeeping, it is not only for contracts. Blockchain can basically be invisible to all the businesses, but when I look at the back end of the businesses, I know that there is a lot more we can do. Uh, where I would advocate clearly is where, like a government department, where they look for one rogue guy who would have probably created a process. That's why the 30 people have to sign, where there is a trust gap. I think blockchain is a clearly a solution and an answer to the trust gap. Similarly, when we start looking at technologies like AI, now when was AI taught in the labs? When was AI taught in some of the computer courses? It'll probably 40 years ago. So for the people who are in a hurry and think blockchain has not become mainstream, they're forgetting it took even data analytics, AI, machine learning, and robotics more than 40 years. And this is where you had powerful people like IBM playing chess on the screens. When you had people who were challenging the weather forecasts, what impacted all of us on an everyday basis. If we all in business start looking for paperless transactions, we start looking at the gaps or the lacunae in the digital technologies, and we start looking at even examples like healthcare data, tracking and tracing of the vaccines. We start looking at many different post-event, uh, the whole the legal analysis or the cyber security. I mean, I think there is a lot of work to be done. So let's all focus together on creating an environment where India takes the lead. India has taken the lead in, the COVID vaccine management. And I know that my colleagues worked with one of the agencies on a blockchain solution for the COVID vaccine management. I strongly believe India should take a lead in creating a blockchain operating system, creating a blockchain stack for India. We should be taking a lead in creating the exchanges or the IPOs through the blockchain. I know ICO has been replaced, but I think there is a lot more to be done, and we should be taking the lead. I believe that a central bank digital currency using a blockchain based token in a digital format could be a method of taking the lead. We can keep waiting for the world to come to us, but there is a need for us to have those immunity passports, the digit blockchain based, health passes. And I know that as the world adopt themselves to the new normal, as many of us start realizing that World Economic Forum is right, 10% of the global GDP will be stored on blockchain by 2027. I think we need to push the blockchain in India, and the opportunity is right here. It is an area where we can leapfrog. Uh, let's go back to the March of 2020 and start looking at if we had a mature digital supply chain, if we understood the interoperability of the blockchain, would we have done things differently? So I can personally only say is that cloud, data, AI, and blockchain and 5G are here to stay. If we can marry all of them together, we are creating solutions which are more futuristic. So the choice is for us whether we want to remain on a manual typewriter or whether we want to start using a speech recognition system. And this was just to figuratively say that some of us have not seen a manual typewriter and some of us only talk to our smartphones. We don't even type. So I guess it is for India and all of us in business to recognize the technology in open source, which can be trusted, is available, and let us work together and create an ecosystem which benefits the government, which benefits the private individual user, and which will benefit the corporates. So again, thank you, Tina, for inviting me. It's been a great session for me because it has provoked me to do a lot more at Tech Mahindra.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gunani. There's one question that's coming in, which is, according to you, what do you think are the key challenges for implementing blockchain in India? If you would like to address that.
I think the first is that there are papers that have been written by Ministry of IT. There are papers that have been written by Niti Aayog. But if we do not become the users ourselves, if my Aadhaar card is not on the blockchain, I mean, I don't expect a bank to start using it as an application. I don't expect a Uber driver to use it as an application because many of us have forgotten that the government is not only for policy, it's not only for defining a roadmap, but government in many countries takes the lead to create the impetus or the momentum. So to me, the first disadvantage is this. Number two is, I think folks like you guys have not done enough to propagate the use cases. Number third, I think people like us, we have not invested in the talent. We have allowed an Ethereum to grow. We have allowed so many ICOs to happen outside. But we have never said is that is impacting our business. So I think there is a lot more to be done by people like me. And with your support and help, I think we will be able to harness the power of open source blockchain.
Great. So, Tina ma'am, would you like to add anything to that?
No, I also had a question that I would like to ask Mr. Gurnani. Sir, so we have seen that, public sector usually takes the lead in implementing many technologies. The public sector usually, for various reasons, has different priorities. So we have such a big use case in India in terms of, managing the supply chain. You look at anything like a simplest example would be the farm output, right? And how it moves from the village to the final end user. Do you think that there is a possibility that in India, the private sector can also take a lead in this case? Sir, you're on mute.
So thanks, Tina, again. And Tina, I was going through a report the other day which I think NASSCOM had published. And this was regarding few reasons why many of us have not taken advantage of the benefit of blockchain. Uh, and I also read an article which said, whether the blockchain can rise in India. Uh, at that time, pencil scribbled a few things just because I was reading that article. And I think the top of the mind that I had was lack of concerted effort between private sector, the government, which is Niti Aayog and the Ministry of IT, and number third, the finance minister, because by dismissing the central digital currency or a Bitcoin, we are bringing the blockchain into what I call lack of knowledge category. I mean, you're creating a suspicion in the minds of people that this is only good for Bitcoins and this is only going to help people who want to deal with a money of different shade. Because that's what you've done, what we have done for a layman's understanding. So when we started looking at potential usages of the Bitcoin, the first part was that a large service providers, we tried to analyze their revenue and we realized only 0.2% of their revenue was coming from blockchain. When I analyzed the same thing for a external service provider in US, it was as high as 5%. That means not invested in academia, not invested in talent, not invested in education, and hence lack of knowledge start becoming a perception. Then we looked at what are the areas where we probably should be looking at, and we just looked at a few sectors, and I know there was a report by PwC on this. If we just look at a few sectors, I mean, it became very, very clear that we could actually play a much, much bigger role in banking and finance, healthcare, supply chain, real estate, and even in a student identity, because now education has come to your classrooms. Sorry, from classrooms to your bedrooms. And if it has come to your bedroom, you don't want your student identity data or my children data to be floating around the net somewhere. So this marketplace where a textile worker can spin and be able to produce a small carpet and directly be able to sell it, or an agri-tech where a farm producer can sell his goods. Remember, the underlying technology is digital. Digital means traceability. Traceability means data. And if data is not secure, if data is not into trustworthy containers, if data is not being interoperable, we will never be able to make a scalable system. So I think, Tina, from my perspective, the potential is very, very high. And whether it is a vehicle life cycle management for Mahindras, or whether it is farm insurance, or whether it is electronic health record management, we all know the advocacy group and some of us, we might as well increase our outreach.
Yes, sir. One of the are there any other questions, Aparna? Otherwise, I am taking all the time.
No, please, ma'am, if you have
I
any
mean,
other.
frankly, you guys, it should be an open workshop, Aparna, and I know I have my colleague Rajesh Dudu on the call also. Uh, you know, Maybe Rajesh, do you want to add any other points? Because you have been very vocal about the misconceptions about the current systems and what does it take to get to the next level of efficiency?
Yeah, certainly, CP. Thanks for the opportunity. Currently, we are lacking behind adoption with respect to blockchain because most of the people are in the trap saying that they don't need blockchain. Blockchain is not required at this point of time, right? It's basically a misunderstanding or a gross underestimation of the problems that are there. I'm not saying that it will solve every problem that is there in the world, but it has proven time over that it has the ability to address the trust gaps and also has an ability to act as a very good lever for digital transformation. And with the implementations that we are seeing at the national level, even by National Payments Corporation of India, that you have rightly alluded to in your keynote, the technology has been proven to solve some tough business problems. And if people recognize this, and then give it a fair chance in terms of evaluation, we will definitely be at the forefront of this implementation.
No, absolutely agree. I think one of the green shoots that we have seen in blockchain is the financial services sector, like you said, NPCI, Rajesh.
Right.
There are a lot of POCs which have happened, and I think financial inclusion being one big agenda. There's a lot of work which is happening in that area, and I think we have some panels later today showcasing that. The other interesting thing that I am seeing, Mr. Gunani, is that a lot of interest in the startup ecosystem and students. So we've been going to various universities and trying to understand. I think the young understand the power of this technology more than anything else, and we are seeing and they are seeing a future which is probably very different from the way we see, the future of India, the world, the economy, and the opportunities there. So there's a lot of interest in, these 20-year-olds, and when you meet them, they are bursting with ideas. And today we also have a startup ecosystem wherein we are taking some of the notable startups and showcasing. There is a lot of energy. I think what we would probably need is a little bit of support on the policy side and regulation side, and that will take us places.
Absolutely, Tina. As Mr. Gurnani had already alluded to, in terms of by not creating a conducive regulatory climate, we will only be left behind on the innovation curve. And this has been very well established in United States also during the earlier time when the regulatory climate was not very conducive for blockchain, both in cryptocurrencies and outside cryptocurrencies. US has suffered on the innovation front. And now the Office of the Comptroller and Currency has taken a leap of faith, allowing stable coins to be used by banks and thrifts in payments, which has made them mainstream. So the innovation is again coming back to that particular geography from a blockchain activity perspective.
Yeah. So we're almost ending this session. So any final words?
So, from my perspective, when I talk to the cybersecurity guys, they tell me it's like selling insurance. If you can show the worst case scenario, you are able to sell cybersecurity services. I think in our drive to make blockchain the invisible operating system behind it, while we discuss industry academia role, there is another two or three things that we need to work on, and I'm sure Nina, during the day you are you're working during the day, uh, which is platforms for blockchain integration. Number one. Number two, that for want of better words, I have always said uh, EV electric vehicle would not have been very popular if it was just replacing gas. It became also very popular because it had its own operating system. A Tesla could sell you an upgrade of, can I air condition your back seat, by just doing a software change. So the more we call out and make India stack a reality and India operating system a reality, I think we have better chances of success. So repeating again, integrated platform, and number 2, India stack.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gurnani, for your talk. Thank you, Tina ma'am, Rajesh, for being with us today and kickstarting our event. Requesting all the delegates to please stay back and enjoy a day full of such exciting conversations. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.